Hey everyone, welcome to the Vegas Nation Stadium show from the Review Journal. I'm Ed Graney, sports columnist. Pleased to be joined today by Rick Velotta, our man on all things stadium. And here he is, look at this, live and in person, Michael Gehlken, your Las Vegas Raiders / Oakland for now beat writer. How are you guys?
Good. How are you doing?
You're looking good, kid. We don't see you live often.
Happy to be here in Southern Nevada.
Yeah, it's very nice. It's not hot just yet. Tell us on Saturday if you like it. If you like being here, it's going to hit about 95. So what we do here is all things stadium. We bring the people at home up to date on what's happening with the Vegas Stadium and where the Raiders are going to play starting kickoff 2020 if everything goes as planned. Rick, you and I haven't talked in a while. It's been about 3 weeks now, and a ton has gone on with this stadium project. Bring everyone up to date as we stand here today. In the last 3 weeks, the important parts of what happened here.
Well, the most important thing happened Tuesday when the Clark County Commission met and voted 6-1 to approve a stadium bond ordinance. What that does then is it puts into motion the actual pricing and sale of the bonds. Now, that's not going to happen for another couple of weeks. But what they're doing now is researching the interest rates that are going on. They'll have a big powwow among 7 banks that are going to be consolidated to put the sale together in some office building in New York City, and they'll price the bonds.
Why were there so many meetings? Why did we have to have so many meetings to take us through what many people thought was an inevitability in terms of what would happen here?
Well, part of it was in the timing of how they had to develop things. They needed to get some preliminary approvals first. They wanted to run everything past all the members of the commission or the Stadium Authority Board first, just to see how they liked some of those ideas. Then they met a second time in order to formally approve some of those things. And the reason why they did that was because they wanted a finished product to be shown to the owners when they met in Orlando. So then after that happened, they needed to get some kind of approval from the owners in Orlando before actually finishing the entire package and saying, this is what we're going to send to the county commission. It has all the documents signed, all the extra information that was necessary that's been put into place by Senate Bill 1. So they had the entire package finished. That's why they had to do it 3 times and in a sequence that included the owners meeting.
2 things come out of every one of these meetings ever since the people knew the Raiders were coming to the stadium. When are they getting an NFL draft here? When are they getting a Super Bowl here? I think it's coming up soon, the next rotation on Super Bowls. I think when you get a stadium, you'll eventually get one. The draft is interesting to me. I think Vegas actually would do a great job with the draft. So any insight, or if you had to be a prediction guy here in Vegas, when do you think we could see a draft and or a Super Bowl?
I spoke to Mark Davis about this in Orlando. Seemed very optimistic that the Raiders one day will host both a draft and a Super Bowl. He believes the draft is coming first. He's hoping that it will come in 2020. Theoretically, it could come in 2019 as well, but that doesn't really make much sense given the Raiders won't be here yet.
Right.
So 2020, he hopes that the Raiders will host the draft in Las Vegas as something of a ringing the bell of the Raiders are coming to Nevada and the Raiders are here in Nevada.
Wow. Yeah, let me pile on that a little bit.
Wow.
Mark Bedane said at one of the meetings that I attended that in addition to Arizona, that New Orleans was in the mix in terms of some of the upcoming ones before Las Vegas would get into the rotation. And I think he specifically said 2025 at the earliest.
The interesting part about the draft is then what you're saying is 2020 would make it perfect because it'd be about 4 months before kickoff, 4 or 5 months before kickoff. Much of the stadium would be done. You could actually show the stadium.
Sure. Right.
And whereas in 2019, there'd still be a lot to do.
Right.
Good stuff from you. Okay, Rick, what's the next big milestone now? So the bonds have been issued up to how much?
100 or 750 million.
So they've been issued.
Or they're not issued, but they've been approved to be sold.
To be sold. You're saying if we go by there any day now, they are working nonstop. The real work is underway. So then, if that's the case, what's the big milestone?
Well, one of the big takeaways from some of the most recent meetings was that this is no longer a financial record approval process anymore. It's now a construction project, and that's been borne out by going out to see some of the work that's actually being done on site. Recently, a lot of the union laborers had lunch out there. They had several tables set up on the site. They're regularly blasting away the very last of the caliche. This is what they call a design build progress or project, which means that some of the design work is going on concurrently with the actual construction.
What was the final price?
Final price $1.8 billion for the
Came under
stadium.
2.
Yes.
Good for them.
And but let's not forget though that they still haven't paid for the off-site parking. They still haven't paid for the training center and the team headquarters in Henderson. So all in, the Raiders will probably be north of $2.2 billion.
Oof, wow, that's like a John Gruden extension.
That is. They're just a little under what Gruden makes. Michael, you're around these guys every day up in Oakland. You're based in Oakland for the newspaper. Is it too early really to gauge any of the players' feelings about making Vegas their home? Because they seem to live in a very, unless you're Derek Carr or these guys with the very long-term kind of not guaranteed, but security deals of your future, it would almost not make sense that most of these guys are even thinking about Vegas now, given how the turnover in this league is so much and guys can be cut or hurt or their careers can be over after a few years.
No doubt. You see what's happened over the past month plus since John Gruden really, with free agency, got his hands on this roster. You have more than 20 players being signed. You have multiple players being traded.
Well, speaking of Gruden, if he is this blue-collar kind of football coach guy, watch film in the room on all of that, more of an, I guess people might say, a East Bay, Oakland type personality, do you think there's any misgivings or trepidation in his part of moving the team to Vegas, with that all that Vegas has and offers? Or do you think by then, he'll have accepted it and they'll be fine?
I believe he's accepted it. I believe you won't hear him say that he's accepted it. I think he's very mindful, as are other members of the Raiders organization, of where they stand now. And certainly they have a foot in Las Vegas. Let's not pretend they aren't building
They're here
stadium.
for sure.
Raiders are coming. The billboards have been up for quite a while.
Stores, everything.
No doubt. The preview center. But in terms of John Gruden as the Raiders head coach in Oakland, Mark Bedane, the team president in Oakland, they are being very mindful about wanting to win in Oakland. They want a Super Bowl for the people of Oakland. They want this stadium to be for all Raiders fans everywhere.
Rick, next week, we believe on Wednesday the 11th, the Golden Knights will amazingly begin their first-round playoff series as an expansion team. You've been here all this year with myself and watching how this town has responded, which has just been absolutely incredible. How much of a role do you think, if at all, the Golden Knights' success had in this entire process of getting this done and people getting excited about bringing in another pro team here?
It's kind of funny because it's a double-edged sword. On one hand, everybody sees what the Knights are doing and everybody's excited about them and say, whoa, look at what our first-year hockey team did. Can you imagine what the first football team playing in first NFL team playing in Las Vegas is going to be capable of doing? It's just going to be off the charts exciting.
Gentlemen, anything final, Rick, on the stadium?
I think that anybody who goes out there is going to be surprised to
They
see
didn't
how
let you
fast.
blast something, by the way.
Well, maybe next time.
Column inches alone, you should have blasted like 10 things out there as much as you've written. And give us an update on the Raiders. Next thing is draft, obviously, and then they get into their mini camps.
Draft number 10 overall pick, April 9th. The team's offseason workouts beginning then. And John Gruden looks forward to just to really get his hands on these players. He's got to wait a couple weeks before he actually is allowed on the field with them. So you're going to see Tom Shaw, the strength and conditioning staff, working to get these players in shape and ready to go.
Thanks very much to both of you.
A pleasure.
Well, there you have it. Michael Gehlken, Raiders beat writer for the Las Vegas Review-Journal. Rick Velotta, all things on stadium. We hope you enjoyed the stadium show at Vegas Nation. Also, we have a channel on Roku, the Las Vegas Review-Journal channel on Roku. You can go back. I know you want to do this tonight. Get the popcorn out. All the stadium shows from Mr. Velotta and I. It's good watching, good TV. Don't worry about those sitcoms. Just watch us on Roku. Check back here at Vegas Nation. We will continue to update you with more and more stadium shows. And Michael gets into the draft. He always has great stuff from there. So for Michael Gehlken, Rick Velotta, I'm sports columnist Ed Graney from the Review-Journal. We'll talk to you soon.